Today we're going to learn how to set up the cover design for your background, for your landscape that you're choosing, or your setting or your scene that you're choosing for your place that you're going to depict in your cover design. So you're going to open Illustrator. Whenever you open Illustrator, you want the 64-bit one, Adobe Illustrator CS6. Then we are going to go to File, New. We're going to print these on a regular sheet of letter paper. So you're going to name it as your last name, underscore, which is shift and minus, first initial, underscore, cover. And you're going to change the profile type to print. If it's not already print, that's the default. And the size needs to be letter. You'll see it's at points. You want it to make sure that it says inches and 8.5 by 11. You can do the orientation if you want in a landscape format just by clicking this button, and if you have a better sense of your composition in the landscape format, or portrait this way. So I'm going to choose portrait, the standard one for a binder, and I'm going to click OK. Here's my artboard. So just a reminder, the white piece of paper is called the artboard. Anything outside of the white piece of paper will not print. So these are my layers. You get to your layers by hitting F7 or by going to this panel right here and with the two pieces of paper and opening it up. You can also, if your workspace looks a little funny, you can go to Essentials at the top and reset Essentials and everything will go back into place, or you can go to Window, Workspace, and Essentials. Okay, so to begin, you're going to go to your layers and you're going to make a layer for the background. That is for the sky or anything that is the furthest away. Then you're going to make a new layer for the middle ground. The middle ground is the stuff in between the sky and what's closest to you, like maybe there's a tree. The foreground is what's closest to you in the landscape. So you're going to have 3 layers. You're going to have a background, a middle ground, and a foreground. We're going to leave layer 1 for your scan. So if you have scanned your final sketch, you're going to place your scan in here. So remember, you're going to scan into Photoshop, and then you're going to go to File, Place, and then you're going to place your scan in here, the way we did in the binder cover design. In the binder spine design. Okay? So you have to press enter when you have it in place, and then you're going to go ahead and start creating your background. So the background layer right here, I'm going to make a sky the easiest way possible. I'm going to make a rectangle that takes up the entire thing, and I'm going to fill that rectangle in with something like blue. And then if you want to get some fancier features on your background, you might want to add a gradient. So you could choose a gradient like a fading sky and then just change the line from 90 to 0 or -90. Okay, so you could have a fading sky like that. This is a little bit transparent on this side for this gradient. You can see that right here because it has a line underneath. So if you click on that, it tells you the opacity is 0. If you don't want it to be quite as transparent on the back, you can change the opacity to like 30%, and it will be a little bit less of a fade off. All right? So remember, you can see through this at the bottom. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this layer. Here's my path for the sky. I can lock it or hide it. So I'm going to lock it right here. Just by clicking on this so that the padlock shows up so that I don't accidentally click on it. But I'm going to still be on the background layer, so make sure the background layer is selected. And I'm going to show you how to make some clouds using our hinged curves. So I'm going to reset, I'm going to go back to the pen tool, I'm going to reset the default colors by clicking on this default fill and stroke, and then I'm going to switch it, and I'm going to get rid of the fill because I'm going to be drawing. So to draw the clouds the way we did before, we're going to click and drag out a handlebar. I did that wrong. Click and drag out a handlebar, and then you're going to click click and drag out a handlebar, and click and drag and hold down Alt to swing the handlebar. Click, drag, Alt. It's a little bit harder without a mouse. Sorry, I'm using the laptop. Click, drag, Alt. Click, drag, Alt. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Click, drag out a handlebar, hold down Alt, swing the handlebar around, and then I'm going to use that to close, and then I'm going to adjust the handlebars like this. So I'm going to take this handlebar and hold down Alt and swing it out. Okay, so now I have a cloud. So I'll show you a fancy way to make a sky that's really kind of fun. Alright, so I'm going to then change the fill in the stroke so that the cloud is white. Once you have drawn your cloud, you can select it and stretch it out, flip it over, rotate it, all of those things. I'm going to take the opacity down a little bit to about 40%. Then I'm going to copy this cloud a whole bunch of times. So I'm going to hold down Alt and copy. So all I'm doing is holding down Alt and I'm copying this cloud. Now when you copy it, if you want to resize it and then like rotate it around, you can end up getting some really cool backgrounds like this. So basically you're taking this little cute little cloud that you made and you're making it look a little bit more realistic by layering it together the way clouds look in the sky where they're all puffy together. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out so you guys can see that. Control minus. So I have these little puffy clouds in the sky. So on your background layer you're going to have the sky and you're going to have the clouds. Okay? On the middle ground, let's pretend that we're in the mountains and we need some aerial perspective. So I'm going to zoom out, or zoom in. You can also go down here to fit on screen and it'll show up. So right here is the zoom, and fit on screen will make it go back in the middle. Alright, so I have this. I'm going to lock my background layer. I'm going to select my middle ground layer and I'm going to make some mountains. So mountains, we're going to use aerial perspective. I'm going to have them go all the way back into the clouds. So I'm going to draw like a mountainy line back here. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit rough because it's a mountain, but then I want it to go all the way down to the bottom and over, and then I want it to close. Okay, so that's my first background, or first middle ground layer with the mountains, and I'll show you how to put the clouds on top of them. But I'm going to fill this in kind of like a mountainy color, so let's use like this compound. How about like that color? That's pretty good. Okay, now that's really gray. There. Alright, so I have the mountain color that's very cloudy in the background. Alright, then I'm going to go to my layers. I'm going to lock that path. I'm still on the middle ground, and I'm going to draw a mountain that's closer. Or if you don't want to draw another one, you can actually unlock it. You can select it. You can hold down Alt, and you can make it a little bit lower, and then maybe flip it over. So transform, reflect, and flip it over vertically. So it's similar, but it's not exactly the same. And then you could just rechange the color. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to make this one bluer. Okay, so now I have two mountains. Alright, 2 layers of mountains. And if you want to adjust these points, remember, you can go in here and adjust your points. So what I would like for you guys to do is go ahead and think about what your background is going to look like. And it does not have to look like this. Please do not make all of your backgrounds look like this. But that way you have a background layer, you have a middle ground layer, and then the foreground layer, let's imagine there's some grass or something that's like close to us. So I'm going to take my pen tool and I'm going to draw like a field off in the distance. Alright, and let's fill the field in with kind of a grassy bright color because it's close to us. Okay, so here is my background. I might need some more middle ground trees or something to go in there. And then you may want to unlock this background layer, and you may want to take a couple of these clouds that are closer to the mountains and unlock the middle ground, and you may want to drag them so you can see where they're selected if they're red, so you may want to drag them up and put them on the middle ground layer so that they show up above the mountains. So you can play with that if you want the mountains and the clouds to disappear. Okay, so you're going to have background, middle ground, and foreground, and you're going to go to File, Save As, and you're going to turn it in as your last name underscore first initial underscore cover, and as an Adobe Illustrator file. Save it to your drive and then drag it and drop it to the background cover design folder on the Fine Art Server folder. Alright, good luck!